Hi, welcome to Teaching Moments. I'm Hillary. So today I would like to do a math review with you. I've done a math review before, so if you'd like to see different curriculums, go ahead and check that video out. It's just simply called Math Review. But this one, I'm going to specifically be talking about Math UC curriculum. I've been using Math UC curriculum for many years and I really like it. It's our favorite and I think it's what we're sticking with for the rest of the time that I'm schooling my kids. So the levels I'm going to talk about today is alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and I'll mention primer just for a brief moment. But I wanted to go through those with you because my youngest child is in 5th grade, so he is actually in the Epsilon book, the fractions book. And I have gotten rid of most of those other books that I'm going to be doing the video on today. So I'll be sure to put a picture up of what those look like for you. But I wanted to do a review before I forgot about them and how it went with me. So I just wanted to give you guys an overview and a breakdown and thoughts of what you can expect with those levels. Okay, so let's get started. So the only one I haven't sold yet is my gamma. So that's the one I can use to show you examples of things. So I always bought the books from the Math UC themselves. You can go to mathuc.com and look at their products or look at their products, buy them. There's also a placement test on there if you're not sure where your child will fall and what books you should do with them, especially if you're pulling them out of public school or a private school and you're not sure which one, go with the placement test. I did that with my oldest daughter because I had used other curriculums with her, and then I decided to try Math UC, and I ended up giving her a placement test, and I was surprised. I was really glad that I did because she needed a lower one than I was going to put her in. So I'm really glad I used that placement test. Go ahead and use that to your advantage. All right, so I buy the curriculum. There is an option to get a digital packet if you prefer to do it that way. I've never used a digital packet before. I'm a hands-on girl. I like to have a book in my hands. So I get the instruction packet, has the instruction manual in it. And in the instruction manual, there is the lessons, and it talks about what that lesson is about and kind of the things that he discusses on the video, which I'll talk about the video in a minute. And then it also gives some examples of what they just learned. And then also in the back of the book, it gives you the answers to their text worksheet questions and to the test as well. So that is the instructor's book, and it's a hardcover. It's always a hardcover. And there's also a DVD in the instructor's packet. And on the DVD, Mr. Demi, Steve Demi, is the one that teaches a class of kids, a math class. And you never see the kids, but you do hear them sometimes. But you always see Mr. Demi and the board. And so he explains, it's basically him teaching a class. So you can bring your child in if you want. These DVDs were mainly for parents to know how to instruct their children or for the instructor to know how to instruct the kids. But I've often brought my kids in with me and they watch it with me, and that way some of it, they'll get an idea, hopefully, is what I'm hoping for, of what it is he's talking about. And then I help fill in the blanks with what they didn't understand that he was saying. So I have to be honest with you, with alpha, beta, for sure alpha and beta, I hardly ever used the videos. It was addition and subtraction. Although I did some at first because I wasn't sure, I was just beginning to use this new curriculum. I wanted to make sure I was using it correctly. And I'm really glad that I did because alpha and beta talk about addition and subtraction. And I love the way Mr. Demi will model that for the kids of how to figure out addition and subtraction. It's just cute. And we ended up using it through the rest of the levels So I would suggest that you do at least look at the videos before doing the instruction, the lesson with your child. So that is what you get in the instructor's packet. And then you also get, a student packet. Of course, you need a student packet. So what you get with the student packet is a test booklet like this. I'll be honest, I hardly ever use the test booklets. It's what these are really good for, because I don't give my kiddos tests because I already know how they're doing. But some people do give tests, and that's okay. Whatever works for you. But what I do like to do with these sometimes is as a refresher. Use these as like worksheets to refresh them, or if they're having a hard time with a certain topic, to pull these out and use that as another worksheet that they can use. Also, I had a thought, where did it go? Yes, so that's what you can use these for, but I hardly ever use these test books, to be honest with you. And then there's also I got rid of all my other ones, but this is what it looks like in another level. All the levels kind of look the same. This is the work text, and it has the worksheets for the kids. Okay, so let me explain them to you. Like this one says 17B. This one's the fraction book. I'm going to do a video on this one sometime. I just haven't got there yet. But okay, so there is A through G sheets. A, B, and C are dealing with the concept they just learned, and it's just that concept. Then D, E, and F are dealing with the first part of the paper is the new concept they learned. The second part of the paper is review of things that they have already learned, usually in that book. And then there is a G sheet, and that is called the application and enrichment sheet. And in these particular levels that I'm talking about today, they're usually fun worksheets. Sometimes they're just, color by number, or if they're doing skip counting, then, if you can skip count this number by 2, color it orange. If you can skip count this number by 3, color it green. They'll do something like that. So in these, it's usually more fun. You don't have to do the application, the G sheets, if you don't want to, especially in these levels. It's okay not to, but I would encourage you to read through the G sheet first, just to yourself, and see if you want to take time to do that worksheet or not. Because as you get further along, my son just finished the 6th level, and so he's going into pre-algebra here pretty soon. And so I've done all those other levels. The 2 middle school, like the 2 Zeta and Epsilon, those G sheets are different, and you would probably want to do those. But the ones we're talking about here, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, you do not have to do the G sheets if you don't want to. It's usually more just fun sheets. My kids were always like, oh, I like those sheets. They were the fun sheets, until they get to this book. And then they're like, oh, it's not as fun anymore. Okay. So there's the G sheets. Okay, so you do not have to do every worksheet that they have. As a matter of fact, don't do every worksheet or you will get behind. I thought that this was what we needed to do. I thought I'm a very follow the checklist type of person. And so I thought I had to do every one of these. And so with my first child, I was having her do every one, and we ended up getting behind. And then when I called Matthew C. customer service, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. My child's behind and she has a hard time with math, and they helped me out with a lot of things. But one of the things I realized is I don't have to have them do every single worksheet. So live and learn. It was my first child and I was just figuring it out. So, but now you know, they don't have to do every single worksheet. If they understand the concept, move them on. If they don't understand the concept, have them do more sheets. But have a good plan, or at least an overview of a plan of how you're going to schedule this out so that you can get to all the material you need to get to. Okay, so that's what an idea of what the student packet has. So that would be the work text and the test booklet. Okay, also, if they need more worksheets, there is more worksheets online. If you go to matthewc.com, and it is a U, by the way, not Y-O-U, it's just the letter U, matthewc.com, you will find more worksheets online, and you can plug in what whatever you want them to do, addition, subtraction, division, and then by what? Like, do you want them dividing by 5? Do they need to work on that? You can plug all that information in and they'll spit out a worksheet for you. It's really handy. I like it. Also, they're online. If you're that same website, there is drills they can do online. So sometimes I have the kids do that, especially when we've taken a break, or if it's just if maybe somebody's under the weather, it's just a busy day, just something's off about our schedule so that I can't actually get to the lesson. I might have them jump on the computer and just do some drills. At least I know that they were refreshing those facts in their mind. Okay. Another thing that you should get, I would highly suggest you get with this. This is Matthew C after all, and so the blocks. The blocks manipulatives are an important part of Matthew C. And so each of these blocks are a number. So here's a 1 block, and notice it's 3D, which is a good thing for people who have like a 3D mind. Like people with dyslexia see 3D more, so this is kind of helps. 1, and then the 2 block is orange. And the 3 block is pink. And the 4 block is yellow. By the way, it took me forever to figure this out, so this is a little embarrassing, but the blocks and the correspond with, when you see the alpha picture, you'll see that it has a green cover on it. It's the first book. It's the first level of Matthew C. And then the beta book has an orange cover. It's the second book, which would correlate normally with 2nd grade. And 3 is the 3rd book, so on. When I realized that, I felt kind of silly that I didn't see that in the first place. But so I did mention about 2nd grade. Now, you want to go with the level that they're at, the skill level, and not necessarily what grade are they supposed to be in. Just go with what level, because Matthew C teaches it differently. So let me explain a little bit. Like, Alpha, the first book, mainly teaches on addition and subtraction of single-digit numbers. And then Beta teaches addition and subtraction of double-digit numbers. And so other curriculums don't always do it that way. And so it's different than like what I'm familiar with public schools, how they've taught it in the past. So it's not equivalent, but it ends up all being the same by the time they get to middle school and high school and pre-algebra. They've all learned it. It's just not in the same order exactly. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the blocks. The blocks, I would say, are a very huge part, especially in alpha and beta. I use them a lot. I use them almost all the time with alpha and beta. Gamma and delta, I didn't use them as much. Yeah, I just didn't use them as much. But they do come up again in other levels. It's good to have the blocks. I have 4 kids, and they were all doing Matthew C. And so I ended up getting I got 2 boxes, which I'm really glad that I did, because there was times more than one child was doing their math and they wanted to use the blocks. So it worked out nicely. So I would definitely use the blocks, and the more senses that they're using, the better. So if they're touching, they're seeing, they're reading their math, they're writing it down, they're hearing it, then the more senses that they use, the better it will be for them to be able to understand the concepts and memorize. So I mentioned hearing. That sends me to the next thing. This was really handy. This is a songbook. It is Skip Count and Addition Facts Songbook that Matthew C has, and I believe, yeah, it's a CD. CD's not in there because it's in my CD player. So this was fun because, like, to skip count by 3, that was one of my favorite ones because it's set to the tune of Jingle Bells. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. That one's fun. So it has the songs on there. It has the words in here of what it is. And then it has the skip counting up there. And so with this, there is both a biblical version And there's also a version of the song that's more science and literature. So depending on if you are a person of faith that likes to have the Christian version, or if you would rather go with the science and literature, totally up to you. The CD and the book has all of those in there. Also, it has adding like little tips on how to add doubles plus 1 making 10, things like that. So it's not just skip counting, but it's also adding on here. So this was very handy for helping them to remember to skip count, which helps them with addition and with multiplication. And so yes, it's very helpful. I use that a lot more. I just realized I haven't used it much this year at all, but my kids are in higher math now. So it was a great tool though. I highly suggest it. Okay, so we have the songbook and okay, so I do want to bring up mastering it. So they talk about mastery, and Mr. Demi's like, if you're on this level or you're on this lesson, I'm assuming that you mastered the last one. Okay, so there's some kids that are not good at math, and them and math just don't get along together. Those kids who have dyslexia, who have some processing issues, who have maybe ADHD, who have some memory retention issues, math can be hard for them, especially addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, because a lot of those facts you're supposed to just memorize, your basic math facts, and they can't remember that very well. I was such a stickler. Again, I'm a rule follower, check off the box, I did it. So with my oldest, I was like, if she's not spouting out those facts, then it's no good. We can't go to the next lesson. And that held us back a lot too. That's not necessarily so. They need to understand it. They need to be able to get it. You need to work with them on it. But if they're not like 3 times 7 is 21, 5 times 3 is 15. If they're not doing that, it's okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. So try to get them to a good spot, but don't hold them back for that reason only. Okay? Okay. There's a lot of information. I try not to have my videos be too long, but there's a lot of information here because it's some good stuff. I liked all these books. I have to say I like them all. The one thing I would say I didn't like about them, so each level goes deeper and then deeper and then deeper. Okay, so let me first go with what can you expect in the book? Let me first mention the primer book. The primer book is a red book, and it is for preschool or kindergarten. I have used it with a couple of my kids. It's mainly number recognition and writing their numbers, shapes, just beginning addition, subtraction, beginning of telling time, and beginning of skip counting. So it's just kind of like an introduction to math in general. So again, preschool or kindergarten, depends on your child. They'd be good for either. Okay, so alpha, like I mentioned, is addition and subtraction of single digit numbers. That is their main thing that they're working on. But they're also working on skip counting, and there's a few extra sheets of telling time at the back, at the very back. On beta, they're doing addition and subtraction for multiple digit numbers. So that's where they have the carrying and borrowing, which I think they used different words for that now. There's place value, rounding, skip counting, money, measurement, and a little bit more of telling time. So the one thing I didn't like about that is I felt like they didn't do enough worksheets on telling time or on money. They do get to money here, I'll tell you in a minute. But I didn't feel like there was enough for my kids. And so I ended up finding more worksheets for them, and I kind of did that with them during the summer. Then gamma. Gamma is multiplication for single and multiple digit numbers. Okay, so they just go with multiplication, you learn all your basic facts, and then you start learning how to do 2 digits and a digit, and then, you know, they just keep going deeper and deeper, and then pretty soon you're multiplying these really big numbers with each other. And then the same with division. Delta is division for single and multiple digit numbers. So they're doing their basic division facts, and then they're learning how to divide out further and further and further and further. And it comes to a point, especially with the division book, that I just had to say enough is enough, because they were dividing out really far, and it was kind of getting ridiculous. And I thought to myself, is this realistic? I like to be a realistic person and teach real life. And would we really divide out that far as an adult in life? Do they need that? I mean, they already understand the concept of division and that you just keep going, keep going. But are we needing to go out that far? No, we're gonna grab our calculators. Like 9 out of 10 of us, I'm sure, will grab our calculators and not be multiplying it out. So, or dividing it out. So I would say use your discretion on that. If you feel like some of those are getting monotonous and repetitive and your kids got it, skip those lessons and go on ahead to the next ones. I also love how in each of these books, at the back of the book, they are preparing the student for the next book. And you can tell, but the child might not be able to tell as much, but I can kind of tell, especially now that I've been through it so many times. I'm like, okay, we're about ready to turn a corner. They're starting to introduce a few of these other things. And they also throw in there some introductions to algebra and geometry, just like solving for unknowns. And I didn't go through delta. Delta, they talk about division mainly, but they also show them how to find the area of all sorts of objects, find volume. They talk about Roman numerals. So they get them prepared, and they just beginnings of talking about what a fraction is at the end of that book, because that would be their next book. So that is what you can expect for those levels. That was a lot. I hope that helped you, though. I kind of went through all those really fast, and yeah, so I hope that helped you to know what to expect and helps you to figure out whether that's a curriculum you'd like to buy or not. I liked it a lot, this curriculum, as I said before, and I've gone through like Horizons, Saxon Math, Abeka Math, and I do like this one the best, especially if your child has dyslexia or ADHD or something like that. That's a learning challenge. I really feel like they give a lot of help, and their customer service is awesome. If you need help, they will be more than happy to help you. So thank you so much for watching, and click like and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.